Welcome to a WDCE Loud Rock interview video, the first of its kind. Up until now, it's all been audio, but now we've got their tour dates right here. Nope, that's not where my finger goes. Right there. Angles are weird. What is up, Tyrant?
What's going on, Connor?
We've got Philip Winters, vocals and guitars. We got Andrew Winters on drums. How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing well.
Happy to hear it. So, Tyrant, you guys are not necessarily a new band. Your first EP came out in 2014, but this is your first record. Am I mistaken in that?
No, that's pretty accurate. I was just waiting for you to keep going, but yeah, we kind of formed like January of 2012, and we just released our debut album in November.
That is fantastic. How does it feel to finally produce a full length in the wake of two EPs?
It feels pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah, a lot of shows, playing in dive bars, and
Yeah.
learning what works and what doesn't work to get to the culmination of putting together a full album.
And was this something that, like, so how long have you two been playing together? Like, you're brothers, but is this like a childhood thing or a teenage thing?
We've been playing instruments since, like, I started on violin when I was 4 years old, and he's been playing drums for I don't even know how
I
long.
think I was like 6 when I started, 6 or 7.
Yeah, so we've been playing music together for our whole lives. But we started the band when he was 12, and I think I was
14.
14, 15,
Oh man! And just for perspective, how old are you guys now?
23. And
And at 20.
Groovy, groovy. Well, Philip, I will be able to take you to Hardywood when you swing by Richmond. Unfortunately, Andrew, we will have to have you sit that one out. Um,
That's before my birthday is coming.
yeah, he's actually turning 21 2 days after that show.
well, then I will
Uh,
tell you what. I will give you a present that you can enjoy 2 days after that show.
Awesome. Thank you.
um, But so I listened to the EPs before this interview. I've listened to the record a few times through, and it's awesome. Like it's super tight, very well produced. The mixing is incredible. The songs are catchy. But the early records that you actually already answered my question. I was going to ask how long y'all played together, but it's been since you were children, and that's why. Like those EPs, it really shines through. Like even though the mixing was really rough and it was like not necessarily that hi-fi of audio quality, the sound was tight. You guys click. Like the whole band is very solid.
Thank you.
Um, when it comes to the vocals, they have evolved considerably. Was that a stylistic choice or personal? Like I've noticed that on the EPs, it seemed more like a Slayer kind of approach. There was a lot of shouting, and then on this record, there's a lot more genuine, clean vocals.
Yeah, a lot of it was personal, but it was combined with the fact that, I used to cringe, and I still kind of cringe when I hear my vocals, but like, you know, I feel as though the mix of, screaming and actual singing is probably more suited for the music, and I just feel like it's a better fit for the sound overall.
hmm Well, when it comes to the songs that you brought back, so I know that I think "Search for the Soul" and one other song are from original EPs. Was that out of a desire to re-record those, or did you just want to flesh out the record a little bit and give people some perspective?
There were a few things kind of behind that. I personally really enjoyed Hardening of the Heart. That's the other one we brought back, and I was really for that one. And our other guitarist was super. He One of his favorite songs is Search for the Soul, and Andrew and I have been playing that for over 5 years at this point. It was one of the first songs we've written, and a lot of people really enjoyed that one, and our other guys in the band enjoyed it, so we decided to keep it on the record.
That's awesome. Are there any songs on the record that are even older, like that predate the EP, or was it all written fresh for the record?
Most of it's pretty
Yeah.
fresh, other than those two. Those are probably the oldest songs on there.
Hmm. Now, when it comes to you guys actually having a band, was the EP written as just? I'm guessing the EPs were written just as you two as brothers, and then the Pact, was that more of a band effort, or are there still people who kind of take the lead on songwriting duties?
Well, the first part of your question, the EPs when we first did that was mainly just Philip and I in a basement,
Yeah.
sitting in front of like a couple microphones,
Yeah, really
doing that.
rough recordings in the basement.
But then this one was like, it was a step towards where we were going up professionality of like having a whole studio completely separated from where the drums are, and you talk through microphones and headsets and communicate through cameras, and it's
But yeah, the new album was definitely more collaborative in terms of songwriting. We wanted to get there. Well, when I say there, I'm talking about the bass player and our guitarist who are off doing other things in life at the moment. But we wanted to get their opinions and their personal styles into the songwriting.
That's cool. And it definitely shows through. Like some of the newer songs, they do have a different vibe. So it's clear that there is some. There's more creative juices there than just the Winters brothers.
Yeah.
When it comes to the band's overall sound, I've noticed that it is super stripped back. Like it's very tight, low to the ground, solid kind of metal. There's no frills, there's no orchestral layers, vocal harmonies, anything like that. Like, um, is there ever a want for that kind of atmosphere, or do you just want it to be that like low down, ground pounding metal?
Um, we've definitely, well, at least me as the singer, I've definitely tossed around ideas of doing more vocal harmonies, especially with the more clean singing. But as far as like layers and textures, we kind of want to like keep the music pretty true to like a four-piece band, so we could get up on stage and play the songs, and it sounds, if it sounds exactly the same on the record, if not better.
Excellent. Um, is there anything else you want to just let people know about the? Well, actually, I do have another question. Lyrically, so there's no shame in this because I've done it too with my band. Are any of the songs just lyrically just metal nonsense, or does each one have a story?
Um, I don't think I write lyrics for, writing crazy brutal lyrics for the sake of being brutal. I think my lyrics are brutal in the sense that they're inspired by, real people, real events, stuff that's happened in our lives at least. So there's no need to like make it sound metal for the sake of sounding metal.
Hmm. And now these people whose stories. So this is actually really cool. I interviewed. Have you guys ever heard of Amigo the Devil?
Mm.
Well, he's this dark folk guy. He's pretty awesome. You should check him out. And we had a very long discussion on just the nature of telling other people's stories through our own songs. Um, are the people that you wrote songs about situations involving them, are they aware that their story has been made into a song?
Uh, I I wrote actually Search for the Soul. I wrote about an ex-girlfriend's mom, and when I told her that kind of killed the relationship almost immediately. So I kind of refrained from telling people unless they really want to know.
Hmm. Well, that's a pretty funny backstory. Tragic, actually,
Yeah.
but in hindsight, I'm sure it's like, oh. Um, let's see here. So, talking about touring, you guys said you played a lot of dive bars and stuff, and that's natural for any beginning band. What was your worst show so far? Like the one where you look back and you cringe so hard that you almost just stroke out.
It was probably in I think for me it was Kent, Ohio, because the day prior, before we did the
Mm,
show, we did like a
that one
whole
sucked.
day's worth of yard work to get like free food and a free shower. And then on top of being tired and fatigued, like a bunch of equipment failure as well, like my bass pedal stopped working. And then
Yeah, that
I
show
think
sucked.
I broke a couple sticks in the show, and then it was just not good, but it was fun.
That does
Uh,
sound tragic. How about you, Phil? Is there one that like also like rings in your mind?
Um, I think, and I know this might sound kind of obvious, but I think the very first show that we ever did was kind of cringy in my opinion, and there's still footage of it somewhere on like the deep part of YouTube, but there were maybe like two or three people in a 400 capacity venue. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where you kind of go. I went in with expectations that were kind of not real, and so that kind of was the worst experience as a show or during a show for me. And I learned very quickly not to, expect too much
Yeah.
and kind of go with the flow of the show.
So people always have day jobs. What do Phil and Andy do when they are not the masterminds behind Tyrant?
I do. I work a couple part-time jobs. I do like tour booking for a bunch of other metal bands, and I also work as a social media coordinator for a digital marketing agency.
Groovy. How about you, Andrew?
I work at a steakhouse, like a steak and seafood restaurant in Lansing, Michigan, called Capital Prime.
That sounds, pardon me, but prime. Um, Man, you guys had to work for food. They don't like set you up before you put in your leave of absence for a tour. They're like, nah, you be alright.
No, they had to make me work for it.
Yeah.
I got ridiculed for taking the time off. I was just like, I won't come back.
Well, when it comes to the touring, being a band on tour, how many? Well, let's ask this: is this the longest tour you guys will have gone on? Because I'm seeing at least 10 shows on this bill.
The longest tour we did was the first one we went on, which was 3 weeks, and that one was supposed to have more than 10 shows, but we had some serious van issues on that tour, so we only ended up like doing 9 shows out of 3 weeks.
Oh
But
dang!
yeah, it kind of was a kick in the morale. But yeah, this tour is probably the most concentrated in terms of the number of dates in a row.
hmm When it comes to driving from show to show, everybody now obviously we're all metalheads. We all have records that we share, and then we have records that we do not.
Hmm.
Now, for each of you, what is the one record where if you put it on, everyone's like, "Really, this one again?" And you're just like, "Don't. This is my record. Leave it alone."
I'll let Andrew start with that one.
um, I don't know. Sometimes it depends on where we are in the United States. So last tour we went on, when we were in like halfway down to the southern part, I think it was like by the Rocky Mountains. It was my turn to be DJ, and I started playing John Denver, Rocky Mountain High. And that's just like one of my favorite songs, and he's like one of my favorite country artists. And everybody was just, they said they saw it coming.
Yeah, we heard that a number of times on that drive.
So that's actually really funny to me because my girlfriend is moving to West Virginia right now. So I told her the first time I visit, she just needs to sit there with her windows open and just wait, and she's going to hear a car coming up. But before she hears the car, she's going to hear Country Roads blasting through nearly blown out speakers, just pulling up to the apartment complex. Um, so John Denver ties people together. How about you, Phil?
I don't know if it's one record in particular, but like I like to blast like a lot of emo ghetto trap music. Like, nobody else is a fan of it, so I mean, I enjoy it. I can get down with that. But yeah, it's just whenever I play some super ghetto stuff, they're always just kind of like, what the hell?
Who are you and what did you do with Phil?
Exactly. What happened to the metal singer?
hmm When it comes to your vocals, who would you say is your biggest inspiration vocally? And then the same for guitar.
Hmm. Vocally, I like Ian Anderson from Yes. I like the the way he pronounced a lot of words and the way he used a lot of melody to kind of convey the message more than the lyrics. Especially with Yes, a lot of their lyrics are like nonsense, but the way he sung them was pretty inspiring to me. So I think he's probably one of my favorite vocalists. As far as guitar, um, I think I'd have to go with like Dave Mustaine or like Dimebag, because one of those earlier metal guitarists were pretty formative in my playing.
I definitely heard a lot of Megadeth. Like just like a few of the tracks, I heard the riff and I was like, yeah, this it's super fast. It's very tight. It just reminds me of Megadeth.
Well, yeah.
How about you, Andy? Who's your drum god?
Oh, I got a couple, but I would just give you two. It's the late Vincent Paul Abbott,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
then the it's got to be either Buddy Rich or Peter Chris. And I know they're like two different people, but they played a huge role in my what is it, role model. My
Mhm. Now I've heard of Buddy Rich and I've heard his playing. I can't say I have the other.
Peter Criss. He was the drummer for Kiss.
Oh, okay. Wow.
he was,
I kind of just
yeah, he was the Catman.
I lost some credibility right there.
Damn.
It's unfortunate. When it comes to circling back around to the pact, because we started talking about the record again, which song was written the fastest?
Integral.
Yeah, Inner Cult was actually like finished in the studio. It was kind of funny because the other guitar player Tony, like we had, a set day for him to come in and do all of his parts, and he walks in and I tell him I was like, "All right, time to do the Inner Cult." And he's like, "Oh shit, I didn't even know we were doing that song." So that one was actually the quickest of all the songs.
Awesome.
Didn't take very long.
And when it comes to writing, like which song took the absolute longest? Like you got stuck on a riff or couldn't figure out how it flowed?
Uh, you think Fear? Well, yeah, we did a lot of changing on Fear. Um, Fear was probably the one that we worked on, or Fear of Faith, we worked on the most, and really tried to make it a song that we thought other people would want to hear, instead of just us.
Mhm. When it comes to the songwriting, do you usually have lyrics written and they get assigned to a song immediately, or are there songs that have absurd working titles?
uh, we normally start with absurd working titles, like literally whatever comes out of our brain. Like I remember at one point way back in the day when we were writing some riffs, we were, naming riffs like cinnamon rolls or like chugga chugga or whatever we could think of, just so we kind of knew what we were going for. But sometimes I'll have a title or like some lyrics in mind that I want to use like right away.
Mhm. And then what was the funniest working title for this record
What's the funniest?
in terms of like the song working titles?
Hmm. I can't say. I don't know. What would you say, Andrew? Do you remember any of the working titles? I don't know if I remember too many of the working titles for this one.
Well, hey, honestly, well, then what's one of the goofiest ones you've had in the past?
Rat Trap.
Yeah, Rat Trap was one of the goofiest ones. And actually that ended up being
A
the,
song.
the actual song title as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Which EP, or is that one that never made it to a recording?
never recorded that one.
You guys will have to flesh that one out.
Maybe.
um, well, when it comes to other media that inspire you guys, because, everybody, we love playing our instruments, but we can't literally do it all day. I mean, we could, but sometimes don't feel like it. Do you guys read? Do you watch movies, video games? Like, is there anything else that informs Tyrant?
um, I like to be outside if I'm not doing music or going to school or working. I just like to be outside.
Excellent.
I get a lot of inspiration from it.
Yeah, nature's pretty awesome. In addition to spending a lot of time outdoors with Andrew, I like to. I have a tendency to read a lot, especially like dark, macabre stuff like H.P. Lovecraft and a bunch of religious, philosophical thought.
Mhm.
So I take a lot of especially like Lyrical Inspirations. I take a lot from what I read and what I see, everywhere, just in life.
Hmm. Have you ever had an experience where, just because the metal scene is generally very accepting, but there are a lot of people who just feel that they are, too true for you? Have you ever had experiences where people either didn't like your lyrics or didn't think you were hard or true enough for them?
Uh, I don't know. I think, like you said, I think metalheads are pretty open. There was actually one time when we played in Philadelphia where our tour got joined up with the Parasitic Ejaculation tour. And I mean, those guys are like some heavy duty slam metal. And so, like, their fan base was a little bit more not into us. So,
That's understandable. Well, let's talk about the Richmond date. Have you guys ever been to Richmond before?
I
I
mean,
think so. A
yeah,
long time
probably
ago.
like when we were kids, but not touring. We haven't stopped there yet. So we're really looking forward to this one.
Excellent. I have never been to On The Rox. What do you know about the venue? What can you tell us? Anything?
We're gonna be. It's a bar that also it serves as a restaurant in the front, but we're playing in the back room. And it's free entry since it's during the weekday, so there's no excuse for you to not come. Um, we've got
Make
some
note,
really,
listeners.
yeah, we've got some really awesome bands. We've got Minefield playing with us. We've got Spiral Fracture and Wolf Legion, which is going to be an awesome lineup of some heavy metal on like what is it, a Thursday night, Friday?
It's actually a Friday.
Oh, it's a
Um, yeah. So
updated.
no excuse to not go. We go out
Yeah,
there, we get rowdy. It's free on a Friday night. What more can you ask for?
exactly.
Well, gentlemen, I've talked your ears off for a little while. Is there anything that you just think the world should know about Tyrant, about the Pact, about your tour, like about you guys in general?
Um,
Watch
yeah,
out.
I was probably gonna say something to the same effect. Expect the unexpected from us, and you know, watch out for us because we will live up to our name. So,
Excellent. Tyrant is looking to take over your eardrums with their tunes. You will see them very soon, and the tour date will be in the link below. And look at this poster, if I can get my angle right. Oh god, there we go. Alright, this has been a WDCE Loud Rock video interview.